This is Safety Bri, your number one safety geek. Why do we have the behaviors that we do? Superheroes in the workplace, right? All of those things that go into making you an effective safety manager. I love what we do. Motivation, learning, teaching, training, teamwork. I geek out over that just as much as I do safety. Hello, my safety friends, and Happy New Year. Oh my gosh, it is already 2020. This is so freaking exciting. Welcome to the Safety Geek podcast. I am Bri, your host and number one safety geek. I have been talking about safety for months now. I am really enjoying it, and I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. I truly appreciate it. And today we're talking about one of my favorite subjects. Those of you that have been listening to me for a while, you know how much I love setting goals and planning and action planning. I love Mondays because they're the beginning of a new week. I love the first of the month, and I especially love the first of the year. But what I wanted to talk about today was New Year's resolutions. And to me, I kind of look at it like it's a way to start over with the new year, but resolutions kind of give you a focus. And I will tell you, my past experience of resolutions have not been that great, just like most of the population. But I have had a few that stuck, like doing laundry all on one day of the week. Doing dishes every day, and gratitude. Last year, maybe it was the year before last, I started a daily gratitude, which was life-changing to me. So I did get those couple to stick, but I will tell you, most of the time, I very rarely ever make them stick. So a few years ago, I changed from creating a resolution to focusing on a word of the year. So the word of the year is where you choose, instead of choosing like a resolution, like, hey, I want to lose weight or work out more, whatever it may be, you choose a word that symbolizes your focus of the year or for the year. So the first time I did it, I should have had my word of the years written down. Last year, my word of the year was finish, which meant I had a lot of things that I had started, but I never finished. So then my whole goal was anything I was going to start, I had to finish. And then I had to focus on finishing the things that I had already started. It went okay until life changes happen. But I wear a bracelet that I actually get it's called myintent.org, which it's very funny. It's like a washer with some rope, and it's a bracelet. And I always put my word of the year on my bracelet. So I do focus on finish all the time. And it does actually let me, every time I go to start something new or I have something I want to do, I'm like, am I going to be able to finish it? Right. And if that question is like, not sure, then I may not choose to do it. So the whole idea with a word of the year is that you kind of live up to that word. And the year before, the word was Spartan, because I just love the mentality of a Spartan. And then I was actually planning on doing a Spartan at the end of the year to kind of finish it off. But that was before I destroyed my knee. But anyway, the word before that was effective. And that one I actually spread into my workplace as well. So I made a word of the year where even everything at work, it was, I need to be effective. And how can I effectively implement something? How can this be effective? And I kind of focused everything around that word throughout the year with everything that I was doing. So I now kind of choose a word of the year as opposed to a resolution. But either works. A resolution is generally like a goal or a project or something that you're working towards for the year. And we'll talk about how to pick a good one or some details of some good ones later on. But what I wanted to start off with, and we will tie this into safety management too, so don't you worry. But I think you'll get a lot out of this podcast because you can apply this to your life as well. But what I wanted to start off with is why it is so hard to stick to a resolution. And I want to get into the psychology of it as well as a little bit of the brain chemistry as well, and give you some tips on how you can get your resolutions to stick. Because most of the time people set their resolution and by the end of January, they're done and they're no longer doing it. That's kind of like I don't know the actual statistics, but it's probably in the high 90s, right? Percent of people that don't stick to it. So what I find is that when you have an understanding of why you're not sticking to something and what is actually happening in the brain and in your mind, that you can do a better job of trying to stick to it. So that's why I kind of want to go over the psychology of it and the brain chemistry that's involved in sticking to a resolution. So before we get started, you have to know a couple of facts about the brain, okay? So there are two parts to your brain. There's the brain stem, which I like to call the primitive brain. Some people call it the lizard brain. I also kind of call it a toddler. That kind of controls your body functions, right? So your brain stem is the one that's controlling your hormones and all of that good stuff and making sure that all your organs are working properly. But the big thing is it's controlling those hormones too. And then you have your prefrontal cortex, which is all the other parts of your brain. And that's where you're going to have your intelligence, your senses, your executive functions, which is the most important, and your planning. And that's where a lot of your thought process is too. And the brain, what it really wants to do more than anything in the world, like this is what it is always focused on, is working efficiently, avoiding pain, and seeking out pleasure. That's all the brain is always doing, is those three things. So when you're trying to do something and your thoughts are driving you elsewhere, it's because it's trying to do one of those three things. So let's talk about working efficiently. So whenever we do something, regardless of whether it's the first time we do it or if we're doing it over and over again, a neural pathway is created. So it's a pathway between the cells, between different parts of the brain. So that way they're kind of communicating with each other, like I go to pick up my pen, it's, my eyes are looking at the pen, my brain is telling my arm and my hand to reach for the pen and to grab it. And, I'm talking about it and thinking about the pen and all of those good things. It's kind of like instructions on how to do something, right? So it's a neural pathway to do it. So the more often you do something, the stronger that neural pathway gets. So think about it this way. So let's say that you're driving a truck through a field and you want to get from point A to point B. You know how to get there, right? But because this is the first time this field has ever been driven through, it's kind of rough, it's bumpy, it's got a lot of grass and a lot of things in the way. The first time there's no path, right? So you know what you're doing, but it's going to be rough. It's just this rough path. But the more you do it, that path gets driven into the field, right? And you do it long enough, it's going to be like super smooth, like a paved path even, right? That's like a neural pathway. So the more you do it, the smoother it gets. And the smoother that road gets, the faster you can go. So think about when you're driving to work and next thing you know, you're at work and you don't even remember driving there. It's like muscle memory, driving your car to get to work through major highways. That's because the neural pathway is so strong on how to do that. It just does it. It doesn't require a lot of your prefrontal cortex and your executive functions in order to do that action. It requires some of it, but not a lot of it. All right. So you may have heard that in order to change a habit or to build a habit, you have to wait 21 days, 90 days, 6 months, whatever, right? There's actual scientific evidence that after 2 months, the neural pathway is pretty strong. And that's what you have to think of, is that whenever you're trying to build a habit or change a habit, you are trying to strengthen this neural pathway. And as long as you keep doing it, it's going to become stronger. Now, is 2 months the magic number? No. But 2 months is a good marker on how to build a stronger neural pathway. So I know I've talked about this before, but I will put a link in it in the show notes. Atomic Habits by James Clear is an excellent book about how to build habits. But one of his best examples in there was about brushing your teeth, right? So a lot of us, we're in the habit of brushing our teeth every single morning. And if we don't brush our teeth, it's very uncomfortable. So probably one of the first things a lot of us do every single morning. It took a long time for us to build that habit. So this is where I say that 21 days, 90 days, 6 months, whatever it is that you've read, is BS, because it takes a long time to build that habit. And any parent who has tried to teach a child to get into the habit of brushing their teeth knows this. It takes years until they are brushing their teeth all on their own without you reminding them. No one's having to remind us to do it because we have built that habit. And now if we don't do it, it makes us uncomfortable. So that's the whole thought about working efficiently. We have to get it to where this neural pathway is nice and smooth, nice and fast, and we work it efficiently. It makes our brain happy, right? So the other thing our brain is always doing is trying to avoid pain and seek pleasure. So what I mean by that, this is mainly controlled by your primitive brain, because I like to think about this primitive brain as like a toddler. It's a little toddler screaming. It wants to be happy and it doesn't want to be scared, and it's trying to avoid any type of pain, right? I kind of even imagine it as a little toddler pulling on my pant leg going, "Mommy, mommy, mommy," right? So every time you try to do something different, so let's say you set a resolution that you're going to exercise every single day, that's different. That's work. The little toddler starts yelling and like, "Hey, what are you doing? This is going to kill us. This is hard work." Even though it might just be walking on a treadmill, and your executive functions are saying, "No, this is not going to kill us." But the little toddler is thinking we're dying, and they're trying to push you to stop. Every time you stop and you give in to the toddler, what are you doing? We as safety managers should already know. When you reinforce a bad behavior, it's going to make that bad behavior continue to happen. So every time the little toddler starts yelling, "Hey, no walking on the treadmill. We're not exercising today. No, 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 no." And you give into it. You just gave the toddler a cookie. They're like, "Ooh." So every time they get on the treadmill, I'm just going to start yelling. I'm going to get my cookie and we're going to stop walking. You're reinforcing the bad behavior. So it's always trying to distract you to do other things because it sees other things as more pleasurable, which I like to call buffering. So when I talk about pleasure, it doesn't necessarily need to be like this huge amount of like super fun, like riding on a roller coaster or whatever, right? Pleasure could just be anything. It could just be sitting on the couch watching Netflix, anything that's calm or relaxing, anything that is not this new or scary thing that they think you're trying to kill yourself over. Because God forbid you step on the treadmill, right? But what you have to realize is that toddler and your brain telling you like this is a bad thing. You don't have to do this right now. You taking a break from it for one moment is not that big of a deal. That toddler is lying to you. Because every time you actually give in to the buffering, every time you give in to the pleasure, like, "Oh, it's just one piece of cake," it actually makes you feel worse later on. So yeah, the cake tastes amazing right now. It tastes great. But later on, you regret that you messed up on your resolution or you messed up on your diet, and then you feel 10 times worse. But what if you had said, "No, toddler, I'm not going to eat that cake"? Think about how much more amazing you would feel after the fact. All right, so these are the things that are going on in your brain when you are trying to make a change, which is what a resolution is, right? A resolution is saying, "Hey, I'm going to change myself. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to change the way I am doing things. I'm going to change the way that I think about things." So anytime you're making a change to the toddler, it's like, "We're going to die." So they start screaming. When your executive function is like, "No, we're not going to die. We're actually going to be better at the end." So don't think that you are wrong to have this little toddler screaming at you. Everybody has the toddler. It's how you handle the toddler. Are you going to give the toddler a cookie? Are you going to say, "No, we are not going to do this right now. Right now, we are saying no to the cake. Right now, we are saying yes to the treadmill," or whatever it may be. Okay? So keep that in mind. That's why sticking to resolutions is so hard. And I really think that a lot of people give up before they've actually built that neural pathway to make it easier. So if you notice, if you can keep doing something for 2 months, it actually gets easier. And also, every time you do something, every time you say no to the cake, it's reinforcing the good behavior. which is then going to make it easier to stick to in the future. That's why people who can actually make it the 30, 60, 90, or the 90 days, that's why they say 90 days to build a habit. It's like if you can actually make it past that 2-month marker, you're building a stronger neural pathway. It's going to be easier to stick to it. Just talking about dieting, because that's generally, I talk about it because it's generally what people pick as a resolution. But I lost 60 pounds one year, not really from a resolution, but I did it in like 8 months. So that meant that I had to stick to a pretty different diet for 8 months. And I've never gone back because I built that habit of that different diet. And occasionally now when I let myself go and I eat the way that I used to eat, I feel awful to the point that I'm like, oh God, I can never eat like this every day again. So it's changing that neural pathway of like, no, we don't eat that way anymore. This is the way. And our brain knows, okay, this is safe. So this is still good. All right. So let's talk about how to pick resolutions. So there are 2 different types of resolutions that I kind of see that people pick. One is either life-changing, like you're going to change the way your habits or the way you do something or the way you believe or the way you think, or it is project oriented. Think about like, am I finish, right? So yeah, I did change, life-changing, like I'm not starting something unless I know I can finish it within a certain amount of time. But project-oriented, I had this list of unfinished items. I want to finish so many of them a month, right? So it was kind of a combination of both. My problem with project-oriented resolutions is that you want them to be long-term. You don't want to pick a project-oriented resolution that's going to be done in a month. You want it to be something that's going to take the whole year. That makes it a New Year's resolution, right? If it's only going to take a month, why the heck even change it, right? Life-changing, a lot of people think of like, I want to lose 20 pounds as being maybe a project-oriented type of resolution. But it's actually a life-changing one because in order for you to lose the weight, you have to change your eating habits, move more, exercise more, whatever it happens to be. You have to change something that you're regularly doing in your life in order to lose that weight and keep it off. So that is kind of like a life-changing one. And once again, like I said, most people pick that, or they'll pick like exercise and all of that too. So what I wanted to kind of touch on for this podcast is just some ideas for you for resolutions that are safety management related, or things that you can kind of have a resolution at work as well as maybe have one at home too. Now, I will tell you that just adding the gratitude resolution last year or the year before, it was the year before, I think, was life-changing to me. And I strongly encourage you to look into it. I was able to see Sean Achor. It's not Anchor, it's Achor. Sean Achor speak at a conference, and he studies happiness. And one of the ways to be happier in life is gratitude. So that's when I started that gratitude practice. And it was kind of, so every day what I do in my practice is that every morning I list 3 things that I'm grateful for in my life. And then every night I list 3 things that happened during the day that I was grateful for, which could be as simple as the smile from the barista getting my coffee, right? Or the fact that my friend Michelle loaned me a pen during a conference. I remember that being one of them. So just the thought of focusing on gratitude makes you happier, because honestly, it's hard to be hateful when you're grateful. That's another little saying I heard recently too. So just being grateful, it's a stoicism as well. But anyway, you can have life resolutions and you can have work resolutions. And sometimes you can pick a resolution that's going to affect both, right? So maybe developing a good morning ritual would be very good for your life. And then also creating a morning ritual at the office would be good for your work as well. And I know I did either a podcast or a blog post on that. I can't remember if you want to look back on that one. So some other ideas would be, I want to become a better safety coach, right? So that's going to involve changing your communication style. It's going to have to have some sort of measurement. How are you going to know that you're a better coach? Maybe you have some training you have to take throughout the year. Maybe project oriented, you want to revamp your entire safety program, and start to finish. And that would take you an entire year probably. So that would be a good resolution. Getting your CSP, that could be a year-long process, if you already have your degree, so that way you're studying, maybe you're taking prep courses, and then you're taking the exams. In my case, I have to take the ASP and then the CSP exam, right? Shifting how you spend your time during the day. This one would be very, very good for safety managers, because I find that a lot of times we spend way too much time at our desk and behind our computer and in our paperwork and in our policies and procedures. So having a focus for the year of, no, I'm going to shift my time where I spend more time with employees, more time with management, more time in the field and on the floor, that would be a beneficial resolution to make. Becoming a mentor or networking more. Excellent resolution. If you have a resolution that you want to network more within your field, that would propel your career. And then in the fact that you're networking more, you can end up mentoring other people that aren't as far along as you are in your career as well. Maybe you want to volunteer more. That was actually one of my goals for last year, was to find one organization to volunteer for and actually put in time volunteering for them during the year. So that could be something. Seek out your safety organizations and set a resolution to be an active volunteer within a safety organization. And if none of these sound good to you, then create a word of the year that you share with your management team, with your employees, and that is the word and the focus of your department for the year. So those are some ideas for resolutions for you. I hope this podcast helped you. I hope that the understanding of the brain chemistry and the psychology of it does help. I strongly suggest that you do a work and a life resolution and balance them. Maybe have them to be the same thing, but have a play on each one. Like my finish one was like finish projects at work and finish projects at home, that type of thing. And you don't want to set yourself up for failure. That's the other thing. And if you read Atomic Habits by James Clear, he's very good about, you start with baby steps, right? So let's say that you wanted to start an exercise regimen. The first step is actually just going to the gym every day, not working out, just going. Like making it like 2 weeks where you just drive to the gym every day and you stand in the lobby for 5 minutes. You do that for 2 weeks. That's going to help build the habit. And then the next thing is now, or maybe you just stand on the treadmill, right? Next one is, okay, now we're going to walk for 5 minutes on the treadmill for 2 weeks. Right. And his thing was 2 weeks because that helps build it, make it stronger. So if you do tiny baby steps, so don't think that you're going to go from never working out to being a CrossFitter and competing for the CrossFit Games, that immediately by the end of the month. You have to work on the baby steps, and it is those baby steps that will get you to that habit better. I cannot recommend that book enough. It's just amazing about how to build good habits. Alrighty, my friends, be safe tonight. I believe this podcast comes out on New Year's Eve. So be safe tonight. Stay away from drunk drivers and don't be a drunk driver yourself. Actually look that up too. It's really, really interesting. I saw a study. I'm sorry, this is a total caveat, but I saw a study where they had people drink how much they would normally drink and think that they were okay to drive. And this one person was only like 2 drinks and their blood alcohol level was too high to drive and they didn't even know it. They were 100% functioning and they did not know that they were over the limit. So a friend of mine her husband is a 911 operator and he is just like 100% saying 0 drinks. 0 drinks is the safe amount to continue to drive afterwards. So there's my PSA for the year. Alrighty, my friends, I will talk to you in the new year. So you guys have a great day and enjoy this last day of 2019. Thank you. Bye-bye. check out the show notes and links for this week's show at www.asksafetygeek.com. If you like this podcast, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. There are occasional bonus episodes that I don't always advertise, and you won't want to miss them. Hey, one more favor. Leave a review on that app too. It helps others find the show. Thanks. I really appreciate it and can't wait to talk to you next week.